Hello everyone and welcome to the 2021 Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open powered by Prodigy. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, and our very first special guest here today is our Pro Tour Director in Jeff Spring. Jeff, gorgeous day here in Jonesboro. How excited are you for this weekend ahead of us?
I'm thrilled, Terry. Jonesboro Open's been an exciting event last year. It was only 6 months ago that we were here, and it was a thrilling conclusion. Now we're back to its normal schedule in April. The course, from all accounts, has never looked better. So I think that, the quick turnaround has actually been a benefit for the team here on the ground. And we're excited to get back to the Elite Series and to the Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series, which, we haven't seen since Waco.
Well, and I'll follow that up and say, do you feel like there was any advantage or anything that we could gain from knowing we were just here 6 short months ago?
I think that for the course, they've been in tournament mode since then. So I think that helps the community, the TD, his staff, Brad and his team, to turn things around a little quicker. And that actually was a benefit in this case. For the players, I think that it's probably, kind of exciting to see it in the spring versus the fall, and vice versa when we're here in the fall. So I think everybody's just primed and ready to go.
Well, and you spoke about how we're back on the Elite Series. Last weekend, we were there for the Silver Series, still in Arkansas. Is there any different vibe to you? I mean, all of the points matter. Everyone's excited. Is there a vibe from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the Elite Series tournaments have stronger fields, more associated, effort events, even like our effort in terms of assets. And now that this is a Phase 2 event, this is our first Elite Series Phase 2, we expect about 500 spectators on site to be managed in spectator areas or in guided pods. So it does feel a little bit bigger, a little bit more exciting. The Silver Series have been great, and they've definitely grown in importance. But at 25% of the points, we see pros skipping it. Hailey King skipped it, and she was the winner of the FPO division at Texas State's, the last Elite Series. We saw McBeth skip it, but still the field was very strong. The Elite, Silver Series have been great this year, but there is a different vibe.
Well, you just mentioned Phase 2, and we know the fans are clamoring. They want to be here. They want to be cheering on all of our top competitors. Explain exactly what Phase 2 means, both for everyone at home and even if somebody's looking to try and come out and take in any of the action. What exactly does that mean for them?
Yeah, Phase 1 is base operations for us, so it's basically only essential players, media, staff, and volunteers that are on site. There's no caddies because some of our tees are very small in areas, and we try to limit the amount of players around the tees. For Phase 2, the main two escalations are that there are caddies and that there's limited spectators. I think when we get to Phase 3, it's when there's only like a few mitigations that we put in place, almost back to normal. So we hope to operate in Phase 2 for the majority of the season now that we're here. We'll see how local and national guidance regarding COVID goes and how we execute Phase 2. I think so far so good, but we have like a 1 to 25 ratio of staff versus spectators. So we just kind of make sure that the spectators are kind of having a guided tour or in spectator areas just to keep them distant from the players. But yeah, those are the main two things, caddies and spectators. We're excited to have both back and anticipate that staying for the future.
Brad and his crew here, of course, doing a phenomenal job implementing the Phase 2. They also saw it as an opportunity to team up and to use it as a little bit of a fundraiser. Can you explain some of the details in terms of what they did and how people could come out and watch?
Yeah, well, we sold VIP passes for the pods that can follow on course. All of the general admission tickets are going to spectator areas. So if you're a VIP, you can join some of the cards, again, guided by staff and volunteers, and follow behind or in front of them. And all the money that we're raising in terms of spectator gate is going to pay out. And I also know that Brad has a great new partnership in terms of fundraising with St. Jude. And that's coming online this year. We'll look forward to seeing that develop in the future, but it's provided actually great resources for the event as well.
Well, and following along the lines of the phases, we also got really big news just recently about our European events, namely European Open and Sula. So we saw that Sula was officially listed as canceled, I believe. Correct, I apologize. European Open was listed as canceled this morning. So that begs the question, as that holds, where does Sula Open lie?
Yeah, so just to be clear, European Open is a PDGA major. It's operated, I think, by Spin 18 officially over in Europe. UC Maresma, Eukateris is the organizing the two that lead it, and they made the call that due to I think COVID cases in Finland and travel restrictions, even in Europe, that it wasn't going to be able to be executed this year. So we're sad to see that canceled. Right now, the PCS Sula Open is still on schedule. We're going to do what we can to keep that on the board. I think the main question right now, even if we're able to execute it and able to travel with our staff and our media over there, is will the players go just for one event in Europe versus two. So I mean, I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we can execute it as a Disc Golf Pro Tour, as the Norwegian staff of the PCS Sula Open, and I'm hopeful that travel restrictions will be amenable to us getting over there, especially with vaccinated players. I just don't know if the players will actually go. So if the players don't go, we would then be in a decision whether or not to remove an elite status from that event and remove DGPT point sanctioning from that event, and that's something we're going to decide in the coming weeks. We've been in touch with the PCS Sula team, Matej Verl, who's the Euro Tour, the PDGA Euro Tour director over there. And yeah, I think Norway is in a different situation than Finland, and like I said, I'm hopeful that all the pieces of us getting over there are in place. But we're going to basically leave it in the hands of the players at this point. We have over 30 tour pass holders that are going over there, so if that field starts to shrink and the players start dropping out, there's going to be a decision at some point whether or not that should retain points. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, it's not 100% that we can make it over there. I'm just hopeful.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, we'll keep everyone abreast of it on dgpt.com. We also have Charlie Eisenhood from Alta World. We'll see if he has a question or something he'd like to follow up with. Charlie, do you have anything for Jeff? All right, it sounds as if Charlie is good. We'll also have Charlie on the line as we continue to talk to our players throughout today's presser, but it sounds like for now we're all good. So, Jeff, we wish you, of course, the best of luck this weekend. Hopefully you're enjoying the weather, along with all of our players out there and all of the spectators that you talked about here in Phase 2 at this Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Welcome back. Now joining us is Calvin Heimburg. Calvin, welcome to Arkansas. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
So last weekend, of course, you take down the Silver Series event. The question becomes, how do you get pumped up? How do you come back to the Elite Series events and defend your title and maintain that excitement and enthusiasm?
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you do every week. You got to show up, put in the work and practice, and then hope to execute during the event. So last week was kind of like an off week. A Silver Series not quite as big as the actual Elite Series. Good way to get prepped for this event, though. Keep it sharp for tournament play.
Do you feel as challenged? Do you feel like with maybe the field isn't quite as strong, do you still have to play your best game in order to take down the win a weekend like last weekend?
They're still good players, but, I mean, there were definitely notable people missing. Paul wasn't there. Eagle wasn't there. Rick was still there, but, I mean, there's obviously notables missing, so there's a little less pressure because there's not quite as many of the highest-rated players there in attendance.
Well, in speaking of pressure, you're coming off of that victory, and you're also defending a title here after taking it down in October. What are some of the things that you take from these previous victories or these previous experiences that you're bringing into this weekend?
I don't think really anything from the wins is different than any other week. I mean, really the difference is just executing the shots that we're coming out here and trying to execute. So, as I always say, it pretty much comes down to putting. So if I'm putting well, I think I have a very good chance of winning. If not, it's going to be a lot tougher.
Well, let's follow that up and say, how was your putting last weekend, and then did you do anything this week in order to make sure that it was feeling good?
Last weekend was really good. Only missed a few inside the circle to the first round, won the last round. But nothing really different for this week. Just continue to practice and put some work in on the green, and hopefully it's as good this week as it was last week.
For someone of your caliber, for those at home who want to go out and get better, how many practice putts do you actually put in a week like this?
It kind of just depends on how I'm feeling. If things aren't feeling great, I'll definitely put in more time on the putting green than if I'm feeling really good about it. I don't ever really set like a number or a time while I'm putting. It's just making sure I'm getting in quality reps that I'm focused on and making sure it feels the way it should feel.
All right. We also have Charlie Eisenhood from Alta World. I believe he's going to have some questions to potentially follow up with. We'll see what he's got for you.
Hey, Charlie.
Charlie dropped the call, but can you ask Calvin about the course and kind of how it suits his throwing style? He's like he's like one of the longest he has like this long, very kind of precise throwing style that really plays to this course in terms of it being a thrower's course. How does that play to his strengths?
Yeah, I think this course definitely does set up for people that can throw accurately farther. There's a lot of airspace out here, so and some of the holes are longer par threes. So if you can throw farther, you're probably going to give yourself more opportunities to get birdies. Also, it makes the par fours a lot easier. So I think it definitely is an advantage to be able to throw farther out on this course, but you also have to place it well to give yourself easy up shots.
Well, and to follow up that idea of placing it well, do you feel like you are able to club down because of the power that you have? Can you go with a fairway where maybe you see some of the other competitors or lesser skilled players relying more on a distance driver?
I don't think there's very often that I'll be clubbing down out here. Most of the time I'll be throwing a distance driver. It'll be a par four, and I'll just try to be biting off a little more down the fairway and making the approach a little shorter. Hole one, depending on the wind, I could throw like kind of like a hybrid disc, like a Thunderbird, or same thing on hole three. But it's a lot of that's wind dependent. It kind of swirls out here, so headwind would still be a driver. Tailwind, it could be a fairway.
We'll also see if Mo has anything else from the booth.
Okay. So you won last week in Vintage. You won here last year. Do you consider yourself the favorite this weekend?
I don't know. That's not really for me to decide. I feel like if I play to the best of my abilities, I have a good chance at winning, but you guys are the ones who decide who the favorite are. That's not me.
So if you're not the favorite, who is?
I don't know. There's two players rated higher than me. Maybe one of those two. Maybe one rated lower. I don't know. You guys tell me. Who is it?
I don't know how anyone picks anyone besides you, Calvin.
Well, thank you.
All right. Anybody have anything else for Calvin here? All right, everyone, that's Calvin Heimburg, defending champion here at the 2021 Jonesboro Open. Best of luck to you, Calvin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cal.
Yep.
Welcome back, everyone. Callie McMorran is joining us. And also, quick note, Paul McBeth has informed us that he is actually laid up with a migraine headache. He says he's not going to be available today. Of course, we hope that he heals, and we'll see him out here for competition tomorrow. But now, we've got Callie. Callie, this is the first time we've seen you in a few months.
Yep. Yeah. You want to know what I've been doing?
We do need to know.
So I started my own business mid-COVID. Way to go. I don't know who does that, but I did it. I have my own retail shop, basically, mobile shop in the trailer. So I pull a 30-foot travel trailer with a big truck, and I've been traveling all over the place running mini flex starts, helping with the Collegiate National Championships just happened in North Carolina with Innova, so I helped with that for a few days. I've just been all over the place. I've been trying to focus on growing my business and also playing. So I've been playing for about, play a month, work for a month, play for a month, work for a month.
So that was going to be my first question is, how are you dedicating time? How did you prepare to be here at this specific event then?
Just keep playing, putt here and there. That's the biggest thing I think that it comes down to. As long as you're putting strong, I know how to hit shots and I know how to throw the disc. And I think that feeling confident in my business and financially being stable allows me to have more confidence coming into this regardless.
So here on this course, do you feel like there's anything about the Jonesboro event and course that suits your game, or there's any holes in your game that you really need to get dialed in on?
I'd say it doesn't necessarily suit my game. I don't throw super far. I don't, throw the shortest, but just being consistent, I think, hitting the gaps, throwing straight a lot of times, especially playing in the wind. I think having experience out here will come into play. If it does get windy, it's going to make this course pretty tough, and then just knocking down putts. With you not playing and you focusing on other things, you're probably a little bit more rested, at least in terms of playing.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more rested. Is that going to be an advantage versus, some of our other competitors who have been out here grinding for 4 or 5 of the last few weekends? I think it could come into play as being a benefit. I think that mentally, they'll have a better mental game. Potentially, you never know. Sometimes playing week in and week out is tough too, so it could be a benefit there too. I think it'll just come down to let's see how I throw tomorrow and go from there. What would you need to do this weekend to make it a success? What would you consider a successful weekend for yourself? I would say, considering I haven't been playing all that often, top 10 would be great. That's usually my goal at any pro tour, and honestly, the skills have just been getting tougher and tougher out here. You've got really good competitors. You've seen that Paige hasn't been winning very often. Nothing against her, it just means that there's other people out there ready to win. Does that drive you? When you see someone like Paige falter, you see other women are able to step up. We're seeing more champions, a little bit more variety. Of course, you want to be right there in that mix. Does that drive you personally? I think it's inspiring. You see all these young kids that are coming up, and I've been meeting them all over the place running tournaments, and there's a lot of skill out there that we haven't even seen yet. We're also going to check in with the booth back in the controls. Mo, do you have anything for Callie?
Yeah, Callie, I was looking back at your results, and you very quietly finished 5th at the Memorial ahead of Jessica Weeks, ahead of Alexis Mangajano, 2 players that are on tour regularly. Do you think that you're a little bit of a sleeper heading into this weekend?
I think I'm a sleeper. I think I've been a sleeper since I started playing disc golf. I kind of did all this on a whim and had other motivations, so I think it's cool that I make my own tour and make my own schedule, and I don't worry about what other people are doing. And I've kind of lived my life that way for a long time, and as long as I feel good and I feel like I'm in the spot I'm supposed to be in, I'm happy. So.
Awesome. That's actually really cool. I super appreciate that. You're also looking at your UDIS stats. You're 7th in the whole FPO division and park shots. I bet you could ask 100 people that wouldn't say that you're 7th in the entire FPO division. What does that say about your game heading into Jonesboro, that you're one of the most deadly accurate at getting close to the bucket?
Did he say my scramble shots? What did he say?
You're in the circle.
In the circle shots? Yeah, I think that one of my strongest parts of my game is my forehand approach. Just being able to hit circle 1. It's all about whether or not I can knock down the putts. So I think that I've always been a pretty accurate person as far as sports go. I've played basketball and I was a shooter for years, so I think that I love that. That to me is the challenge and to hit the target. So that's always been fun and kind of come natural. So it's definitely something I lean heavily on.
Awesome. Callie, good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, that's Callie McMorran. Thanks for joining us, and again, best of luck to you this weekend.
Thanks, Terry. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Joining us now is Hailey King. Hailey, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen you. What have you been doing to prep and get yourself back here at the Elite Series events?
Well, I went home during that time, so when I was at home, I was practice putting and I was dealing with stuff that I had to, but once I came back, I've been doing a lot of field work and a lot of putting. I've spent quite a bit of time on the course, so just getting out there and throwing.
Was there anything while you were at home working on those skills and assets, was there anything in particular you're trying to really dial in, or was it just overall practice?
Overall practice, but I'm really trying to dial in my backhand up shots.
Last weekend, not seeing you on the Silver Series event this last weekend, do you feel like you just needed time off? Is there things that either mentally or physically that you were trying to maybe relax yourself from?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hailey, and this is something coming from the folks out in San Francisco too, your social media in particular is, and this may have been asked already, particularly commenting on a lot of the social issues, injustice issues. Is that something that you focus on, or where does that come from?
I have a platform and disc golf has gave me that, so I'm going to use it. Where I was born, I experienced a lot of white privilege, so now that I realize that what's going on in this world isn't right, I want to speak out about it and just get things talking. That's the only way we can fix things.
Yeah, no, thank you. A little follow-up for me personally. Disc golf as a whole doesn't seem to necessarily swing in that direction. You're one of the only ones I can find. Do you pride yourself? Do you go on top of it? Do you encourage others to do the same?
I don't really encourage others to do it, but if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. If they don't want to, me telling them to do it isn't going to change their mind.
Cool. I appreciate your answer.
Yeah.
All right. We'll also check in with the booth and see if Mo has anything.
Corey, I I want to talk about Texas State a little bit. Right after you finished that event, you said, "I'm here and the challenge is about to start. Now everyone knows I can win." What did you mean by that? That now the challenge starts? Like now, like I mean, obviously you just won the event. You come off the course and you're saying, "Now it starts for me." Like, what did you mean by that?
Well, when I said that, I meant mainly for me the challenge starts now because I know that I can win at a normal event and I can be on the top. So for me, the challenge has finally started and I'm just ready to go play some disc golf, but it has to be at my best.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of following up on that, Paige has kind of not played her best the last few events, and you know you're kind of at the top right now. Do you feel like with Paige kind of having, I think she's been 11th, 5th, 11th, and 5th the last few events, do you feel like you're the best player in the FPO game right now?
No, I don't think so. I think Paige has had a rough start to the off season, and same with Kat. But I mean, I think now at Jonesboro is going to show who the FPO players are at this moment who are on the top.
Why do you say that?
Paige, she was practicing this off season, but I know she was in Hawaii, so I'm not exactly sure how much practice she got. So I assume just the beginning of these events are just kind of like warm-ups for her, and not all of them were in the open. They're kind of wooded, and it seems like she tends to struggle in that area. So now that we're on an open course, and she's won it the last 4 years, I think, or every year it's been held, so I think that's why this weekend is going to show you who's on the top at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. You finished second here last year, and you're definitely known as one of the best throwers in FPO. This is definitely a thrower's course. Do you feel like players like you and Paige and Katrina, who throw the disc really well for Peter Green, do you guys think you're advantaged this weekend in Jonesboro?
I didn't catch that last part.
Essentially, what Mo was asking is that you, Katrina, Paige, all very long and accurate throwers, which this course seems to suit. Do you feel like you personally have an advantage over the rest of the field?
Yeah, I would say 100% I have an advantage. I'm throwing further now than I ever have, so I feel like I have an actual advantage now, like Paige and Kat, where they did have an advantage over the entire field for how many years.
And speaking of their distance, just to follow that up, do you feel like that was something that you said, I need to improve on if I want to compete with them, if I want to beat them? Distance is where I need to do that? Because your putting is clearly deadly. Was distance something that you felt was just the one thing missing?
I feel like since I have a sidearm, I wasn't as focused on my backhand distance, but I want to throw as far as I can, you know. I just want to be able to see what my max power is and figure that out. They didn't really motivate me to do that at all.
Mo, did you have anything else for Hailey?
No, that's great. Thank you, Hailey. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Again, best of luck to you. Hailey King, everyone. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Good luck, Hailey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Kevin Jones, Arkansas's own, is joining us here. And Kevin, how are you doing today?
Great, Terry. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. We're here in Arkansas for a second weekend in a row, and rarely do we get a chance to say that.
Yeah.
What is that like, playing in your home state back-to-back weekends?
It means a ton. You know, back when I was growing up, there were no big events in Arkansas, so it just shows me a ton of growth, and it means that the right people are taking charge and making moves with disc golf in Arkansas.
Well, we've been very fortunate to have the opportunities we have. Now, we have to talk a little bit about your 2021 season, and we all know you're one of the top players in the world. It doesn't look like your standings and your results are showing us that, though.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on?
My swing has been a little bit broken lately. I've just been working really hard on trying to find my timing again. It seems like when I find my timing off the tee, my putting has left me, and when I find my putting, my timing off the tee has left me. So I really feel a lot better this week, though. I feel like this week is going to be a start of a change for the season for me.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic. We saw a 32nd place finish at the Vintage last weekend. Of course, back in Waco when we were in Texas, we saw a 54th place finish. What are you digging for when you look at those finishes, which no one's expecting, yourself included? Yeah. What are you digging for, and how do you pull yourself out of those?
Well, I try not to look at them. I mean, those are things that I'll forget very quickly in my life. So I'm fortunate with to have a brain like that. But all I can do, and I'm just thankful that we have a new weekend in this job, and so I get to start at zero every weekend. The beautiful thing is I have the shots and the abilities, so any random weekend I can come out here and win one, and that's what I'm here for.
You spoke about this week, getting yourself ready. You're ready for a fresh start. You want to put everything behind you and forget about it. Anything this week that you went out and did specifically, any video you watched or drills or skill sets, was there anything that you really honed in on? Yeah,
it was just all driving, backhand. I just really worked on repping my backhand a bunch this week. I need to have a lot more comfortability driving with my mid-ranges, but just overall backhand control has been a struggle for me. I've been relying on the forehand too much.
When I look at your standings and your results, we have you sitting currently in 21st in the Pro Tour. Of course, you had the incredible performance and finish to last year's Pro Tour. Sitting in 21st, a few events in, does that worry you? Does that make you nervous about anything with the season that's still ahead? A little bit. I mean, it's just a really uncomfortable spot for me to be in. I just feel like it doesn't reflect on my abilities, but it's all my own fault. And at the same time, I've been in a very similar position, not only last year, but the year before as well. So it's not something I haven't seen before. So one of the final questions for me is, how much do you love this course here in Jonesboro? I thank you for asking me that, man. I just think this is one of the best courses that we play on tour. I think it tests the absolute furthest throwers in the game to the max, and I think that's what we should be looking for in disc golf. It's also very accessible. Like, it fits spectators really well, and it's not just like wide open bombs. It's a lot of control, whether it's hitting a gap early or landing it in a landing zone late. All right, so I lied. I've got one more then on the course. What's your favorite hole out here? My favorite hole is going to be... Give me one sec. Sorry, I'm on the spot here. There's so many good ones, though, so it's kind of hard to pick. I'm going to go with hole 15. Or hole 16, excuse me. That's the par 5. So I think it's really cool how you can play it for 2 shots. It's nice that there's multiple landing zones off the tee. It's very fair. Sometimes you have to take your medicine and lay up short. And I like that OB on the other side as well. It makes a small landing zone so you can't just like launch it wherever. All about the control. All right, we're also going to see if our control room, if Mo's got anything for you. Mo?
Yeah, KJ. Were you planning on going to Europe?
What about Europe?
Were you planning on going to Europe?
Yeah, definitely was going.
Well, so I kind of want to get your reaction then to the European Open being canceled, and if that changes your plans at all. And I know this would probably be your first trip to Europe for disc golf at least. How did you find that news this morning? When did you find out?
Well, okay, I found out late last night, actually, immediately when they sent the email. I just wasn't really surprised, so it wasn't like a complete curveball to me. I actually hadn't even purchased a plane ticket yet because of everything that's been going on. I kind of imagined that it was going to be very tough for them to allow Americans to go over there. It's a big bummer, though. If you guys don't know out there, like, it's the most fun, best atmosphere of a disc golf tournament that exists. The people just see it a little bit differently over there. It's almost like even more respected in Europe, and so it's really cool to see, just like, because I was over there and I got recognized in like on the ferry by a couple people just like working, and it's just like something else. I feel like it's uncomparable to here, so it's sad that we're not going over there, but I understand.
Awesome. And just kind of following up on that, Europe obviously has like an awesome music scene. Like, how's your DJing been going and your music stuff? I know that's a big passion project for you.
Yeah, well, I'm also glad you asked that, Mo. I actually just finished up my Iron Leaf remix. It's been something I've been working on for a long time, and I actually just finally am content with it. So I'll be coming out probably, I'm going to aim for 3 months from now with a 4-song album based around disc golf. So disc golf and like electronic music.
And so people have to know, where can they find that?
Oh, it'll be posted officially on my Instagram, first of all, like all the teasers and everything. I'm just going to try to do it the same way that a real artist would do. And so it'll be available on Spotify, Apple Music, etc.
Awesome, dude. Good luck this weekend, home state. You excited to defend the home turf?
Yeah, honestly, I feel so much better right now. I feel a lot more confident in my game. Today's practice was only even better for me, so I'm excited for a good finish.
All right, everyone, that's Kevin Jones from here in Arkansas. We're looking forward to a great weekend. Best of luck to you, Kevin. We'll see you out there.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good luck, Kevin.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Drew Gibson now joins us. Drew, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're looking at some of your statistics, and you've had a really good start to the season, and it seems like you're playing well. Are you feeling that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had a little bit of a stumble at Shelly Sharp having a pretty decent-sized early lead, and then just lack of practice and preparation kind of... I was joking with my buddies from home, like, I'm not going to shoot 9 down every round. Like, I hadn't really played all offseason. I kind of needed a little bit of, like, a mental break. And I just went down there and put together 2 early rounds and ended up being in the lead. But I kind of knew, like, I was going to have to keep playing at a good pace to hold off Adam or AB, whoever made a charge the last day. But, yeah, other than Waco, where we drove and I just was uncomfortable. My back hurt. I mean, in practice, I didn't throw one good shot. Like, we played 3 practice rounds, and I never felt like I completed a good throw. So it wasn't, the 29th there wasn't like a big surprise, honestly. Like, my body just kind of hurt. That's a tournament where I feel pretty confident, I would say, with the open holes, and I'm pretty good in the woods for how far I throw. But practicing everything, I just never felt like anything was going to click. And then until the very last day, I shot, I think 10 under maybe. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe 10 under last round or 7 under. I shot a pretty good last round to jump up to 29th. I was on pace for 40th, and I ended up feeling a little better that day and woke up and had a little fire. But other than that, I think that I've had a pretty good year so far. I think I went 2nd, 6th, 6th, 29th, 1st. Is that right?
Yeah, and I was just going to follow it up. You recently celebrated a birthday, and while you were at home, and we haven't seen you for a few weeks, while you're at home, you also had a victory there. I mean, maybe just talk about, was everything clicking? Was that home course advantage? Was that feeling good? Was it everything you just said about how confident you are?
I just felt good. I mean, I think that minus the last round where I just kind of let off the gas. I was up 12 strokes, my home course, 18 holes to play. I wasn't out there, like, grinding on every shot. But the first 2 rounds, I went 15 under, 17 under. And I don't really know if anyone would have beat me at that, the way I was playing. I was throwing great drives. I made almost every single putt I looked at, besides for outside the circle. But we leave those to Kevin Jones. I don't make those anyways. But my game, those first 2 days for sure felt like I could have competed with anybody at any tournament. The last day, like I said, I kind of just let off the gas and kind of just soaked in the moment. My dad was there. He doesn't get to come to very many events. It's at our home course, so he was there walking around. So it was kind of more of like a victory lap than it was me just like pressing for birdie every hole, But I definitely feel like that tournament, like if I play here like I did the first 2 rounds there, I'll be in contention to win.
Well, of course, that was my follow-up. You're not gonna have a 12-stroke lead going into Sunday.
And if I do here, then we're gonna. This is a dry county, but we're going to have some champagne ready on like hole 15.
Popping Cristal. I don't know.
Something. Something. Sparkling
you are not
water.
going to likely have that 12-stroke lead. The competition is as fierce ever as it is here this weekend. But it's also what a lot of people are calling a thrower's course. You just mentioned how well you feel like you can throw. Obviously, you're known for your distance. Does this course advantage you?
I don't know if advantage is the right word, because I think that at our level, if you have the ability to win this tournament, whoever you are, if you're 10-20 or 10-50 or whatever, I think that you're a gamer. Garrett, obviously, he's proven he was like 3rd, 2nd or something like that here. I think that he's proven that being a long thrower, but he's also one of the best throwers in general. The guy can throw the best 200-foot shot just like he can throw one of the best 600-foot shots. So I think that in general, you're going to... I think that this is just a course where the better you are, the better you're going to do. I'm sure that if you were to look at the list of all the events here, there's someone where you're like, oh, I'm kind of surprised, but they just gamed out that week. Not to single anybody out, but I think Eric Oakley, had a chance of winning here 2 or 3 years ago when I was here last. I don't think you'd pick him to win this tournament, but I remember coming down the stretch, he was right there in contention. So I think that whoever brings their game this week and whoever is on point is going to have the best opportunity to win.
Well, and some people may not know or remember the history. You were actually brought out here very early on in this course's development.
How do you know that?
I know things, man. That's why I call myself the disc golf guy. But you were brought out here very early on, and you had input in how this course was essentially finalized.
Yeah.
Maybe just expand on that briefly.
Yeah. When just like I do with Jeff and Todd, I had a very good relationship with the Pro Tour. So Steve Dodge, brought up that this course could use a little bit of help. I'm good buddies with Matt Lloyd here, who's very involved in this community, and I just ended up coming out and just saying, hey, for what we play, the courses we play, the events we expect, maybe this changes, maybe, like, he had a really good layout, I just think, and, he took a lot of my advice. I think we ended up tweaking, 7 of the holes, and we didn't change the hole. It was just like, hey, like, move this 50 feet this way, and it'll actually make it like a scoring differential, because if I remember, this was 4 or 5 years ago now, so if I remember right, I think that it was, I was making it scoreable, because I remember coming out here and being like, hey, like, I can reach this, and that's cool, but, like, the other 90% of the people are going to be putting a 60-footer, So I think that when we came out here, it was just kind of like, hey, like, this lays out great for me and Garrett and, whoever else throws 600 feet, but, like, let's make some of these holes either 100 feet longer and make it a par 4 or par 5 or whatever, or let's make it 50 feet shorter and make it a scoreable hole. We could see a differential. The layout was great when I first came here. It just needed those. I think if the Pro Tour would have came here without those tweaks, they would have happened the next year anyways. So it's not like I masterminded some great thing, but I kind of know what I've designed other championship courses, and I just kind of know like what I thought would be best. And I haven't played here in 2 years, I believe. I think this is my first time here in a couple years, but from the coverage and everything I've seen, I think that they've kept a lot of my advice and even expanded on it and made it even better.
Yeah, we haven't seen any changes on this course, and it seems to be playing well for everybody in all the different skill sets. One of my final questions would be, you haven't necessarily been known as a putter, a dominant.
I putt on every single hole.
You do,
yeah.
Sometimes more than you want to.
Yeah, a lot more than I want to.
So there's my point: is although you've vastly improved, of course, you've taken down Pro Tour events, and clearly you are a good putter, but you probably even admit you're not as great as you'd like to be. Is that a fair statement or no?
Yeah, it's just simple. And Ricky and I have had, Kevin, I don't care who you consider the best putter. That person makes all those putts because they don't fill the disc that well, period. If you see someone make 5 50-footers around it, it's because they didn't fill the disc that good on those holes. So it's that simple. I miss a lot of inside the circle putts, and I don't make that many outside the circle putts, but when I shoot 12 under, if you look at my stat, it's like I might have putted 70% in circle 1 because I missed 3 28-footers. Ricky will putt 78% in circle 1 and shoot 7 under. That's just the way that we all play the game so much different. The only person that I think has the two people that have my game style and have putting woes the same is Garrett and McBeth, which McBeth's obviously arguably the best player in the world, and Garrett has weeks where, if he would have made a couple more putts, I think he would win by 5 or so. So I think that I'm not the best putter. I don't think I'm the best putter, and I don't think I'm even close, but I think that my putting woes are exaggerated because I do end up with so many putts, if that makes sense. Like, there's rounds where I have 15 putts, so if I miss 3 or 4, I still shoot right around the norm, but you're like, oh, he missed a lot of putts. It's like, well, I had 15 birdie putts. That's not an excuse for me or anybody else that has that problem. I just think that my weakness is something that I end up in that situation a lot because of how well I throw the disc. Does that make sense? So
I follow you completely. All right, we'll check in from the studio. Has anything else to follow up on?
Yeah, Drew. So you've taken the last few weeks off, or not off, but you haven't been on tour the same way. And then we're throwing you right into this incredible card with Calvin Heimburg, Chris Dickerson, and Kevin Jones. Do you feel any kind of pressure coming from not playing on a big stage for the last few weeks to playing on this card? I know you're obviously very experienced playing in front of cameras, playing in front of a lot of people, but are you going to feel those butterflies a little bit more than usual?
No, I think I'm just going to soak it up. Those guys, when I walked by earlier, I heard you mentioning a little bit of Kevin's slow start to this season, but other than that, we're playing with 2 of the best players in the world, Kevin and I are, so I think that just go out there and play my game, and I think that I've proven my game stacks up to anybody's when I'm playing well, so I don't think I'm lucky to be playing with them. I think that if I could have earned playing with them the last round, so I just want to play my game, and I think that if I play my game and I play well, I think I'll be right up there in contention. If I don't, I'll get 20th just like anybody else would, so I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I do like playing in these situations, but I don't think that I'm starstruck by these people that I play with every week.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So in 2017, you finished 10th here. In 2018, you finished 17th. What's going to be different this year? If Drew Gibson wins the 2021 Jonesboro Open, what does it look like?
Can someone repeat that?
Yeah, essentially, you finished 18th, you finished 10th. And then if you were to have a good weekend and win, what does that look like for you this weekend? What do you need to do to win and be successful?
Oh, I think if I just make my putts. I mean, really, that's going to be my answer anytime anyone ever asks me that question. I think that if you look at the stats or you look at anything, or you look at my birdie percentage, I think that it's very telling of me throwing the disc very well. I think that the fact of if I win these events or not, I think is a matter of how many times I put it in the basket on my first try. So I mean, I don't know the score. I don't know what McBeth's going to shoot. For all we know, McBeth shoots 18 under. It's hard to tell right now who, there's not really like 11 under, average wins. We don't. There are some times where you think. I mean, I played tournaments this year already, where like Waco, where I was like, oh, you have to shoot crazy numbers, and then it's like, oh, just normal scores are winning the tournament. Then there's times where you have to shoot incredible to even have an opportunity to be on the lead card. So I just think for me, if I play well, that means I'm putting well, making a decent amount of my putts. And I think that if I do that for 4 rounds in a row, at any tournament, I have an opportunity to win. And maybe I don't, maybe I, come short or whatever, but I think that if I just put it all together, which includes my putting, most of the time is my lack, but I think if I do that, I'm on pace.
All right, and last question for you, Drew. Are you just here so you don't get fined?
Yeah, always. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I was even here early for you guys.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Drew Gibson saying he's just got to make sure the putter is hot this weekend to give himself a chance for the win. Drew, best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joining us now is Vanessa Van Dyken of Team Discraft. And Vanessa, welcome to Jonesboro. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling great. This is one of my favorite stops on tour, if not my most favorite. I mean, the weather's great, but I just really enjoy myself when I'm playing here. I have a lot of fun, so that's why it's my favorite.
Well, to expand on that, to have a lot of fun, usually you enjoy the course. There's something about it specifically. Maybe it suits your game or certain skill sets you have. What is it about this side of heaven that you love so much?
Well, I like it because it's more open. I feel like most of the tour is pretty heavily wooded, aside from the beginning of the tour and maybe DDO, but I really enjoy that it's more open. And also, I mean, it's definitely favorable if you have a lot of distance, but you don't have to have that much distance to shoot hot or to win here. Like, I feel like it's really well laid out for FPO, I'd say.
Well, and then I was just going to ask, what do you feel like when it comes to the scoring and it comes to the placement of shots and just the overall way that you attack this course, is there something specific about how they've designed it to, like you said, to really highlight and showcase the FPO field? Is there anything in particular that jumps out at you?
Well, I just really like the women's tee pads are placed appropriately as far as how far the average FPO woman throws. So, I mean, there are a couple of holes where, I mean, I probably won't birdie, but outside of that, I have the ability to birdie every single hole out here. So that's why I really like it, because the whole field has the ability to birdie like 95% of the holes. So then after that, it's just kind of up to whether or not you execute your shot. And so I feel like whoever wins this event was playing the best the weekend. It's not just like, oh, well, it's a lefty course or, or just pure distance. It's really fair to everybody.
Now, who we've seen win this event, to be fair, is one of your teammates in Paige Pierce. When you talk about distance and having the right skill set to attack this course, do you feel like you're at a significant disadvantage to her because so few have the distance that she does? Or, like you just said, you can birdie 95% of the holes and you just have to execute on those?
Yeah, I think it's just a little more difficult if you don't have as much distance. So it's like, for example, a player like Paige, if you have that much distance, you can just mash a drive and then you have a fairly routine upshot. Whereas someone who has a shorter distance like myself, I'm going to have to execute a really accurate full distance drive, and then I'm also going to have to execute a nice approach. So that's just kind of where the difference lies.
And speaking of executing, you've had a little bit of a setback or adjustment, we'll say, in this off season and in the early part of the year. Talk about how you're feeling, your hand. You've had a surgery.
Yeah.
Let everyone know exactly what you've been going through.
So this off season, at the end of December, I had surgery on my ring finger on my throwing hand, and it took 6 weeks of just resting it. And then after that, I couldn't really throw right away. I had to kind of strengthen my right arm again, and because all the muscles had kind of atrophied from just resting it for that long. And so I really didn't get any practice time at all before starting at Waco. And also I live in Michigan now, so it was super cold. And when I got to throw the week before we left on tour, and it's just really painful because it's so cold and my hand was also really stiff. So I basically just started practicing like when we started the tour. But this is actually going to be the first event where I feel like I'm going to be competing with the skills that I have, rather than not feeling like up to snuff.
Well, and let's speak of those skills. You said that you actually kind of sidelined yourself intentionally after one Owen Scoggins. She was assisting, she was helping you work on your forehand game, but you said you essentially practiced yourself almost right into a minor injury. Is that right?
Yeah, so at Texas States there's so many sidearm shots, and I was just really determined to add a sidearm to my game, and Owen and Reed were helping me with my sidearm, and I ended up throwing sidearms for like 6 hours in 2 days. And I have a sidearm now, but I just got really sore on the inner part of my elbow and a little bit on my like fingers when it goes to the side. So I just decided to take 2 weeks off after that, because after what happened with my finger, I was like, never again.
So this weekend, coming into tomorrow, you're getting started. How are you feeling overall physically? You know, I know we just kind of went over a few ailments and surgeries and such, but where are you on a scale 1 to 100? How are you feeling?
I would say I'm about 90%. I feel like almost 100% back to normal, so I'm super excited to play this event. It's one of my favorite courses, and I'm feeling so much better, so I'm really excited to see how everything unfolds.
So it sounds like physically and mentally you're ready to go, you're ready to attack. What would you consider a success this weekend? Is there somewhere you'd like to place? Do you have a goal in mind?
Well, I've played well here. I think the first time I played here I placed 5th, and last year I believe I placed 4th, somewhere around there. So I feel like I just want to keep on improving on jumping up a place, or hopefully first.
Last year in just October when you were here, you had finished in 5th. We're going to also check in and see if Mo from back at the studio, if he has anything else in addition to ask of you.
Yeah, Vanessa, I was looking at your upcoming events, and I noticed that you're not signed up for the challenge at Goat Hill, which is in your hometown of San Diego.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you're skipping that Silver Series event?
Unfortunately, I'm going to be skipping that event because I have a more convenient event in Illinois. I just feel like it would be really inconvenient for me to have to fly all the way to San Diego and then back to Michigan and then out to California again for U.S. Women's. So I'm just going to skip the California events because BSF was canceled, and then I've heard that Masters Cup is still not confirmed yet. So I just decided to kind of take the California, like the West Coast swing basically out of the way, and I'm just going to focus my tour on the convenient areas with where we are over here.
That makes perfect sense. So, yeah, you finished 5th here the last 2 years. And you mentioned, like, you know, you said, like, I want to win. What, like, I mean, that's that would be an incredible first win here at Jonesboro with everybody, the whole field here with Paige and Katrina and Hailey and everyone's here. Why do you think this event and this course in particular sets up for you winning this weekend?
Well, I think it doesn't only set up for me, but basically I feel like the whole field has the potential to win if they execute their shots, because we can birdie most of the holes. So that's why I feel like this is one that anyone can win, particularly myself, because not having as much distance as the top FPO throwers doesn't really matter. You could still play pretty hot.
Yeah, and just kind of following up on that, the story, I feel like, of FPO this season has been just parity, right? It's just been anyone's game every week in and week out. How does that, how encouraging is that for you when you see, all these different women kind of coming up and winning each week?
Yeah, essentially, do you feel encouraged, or is there any additional excitement knowing that it seems like everyone's got a chance to win this year, and we're seeing different winners week in and week out almost?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's very motivating, and it feels like I'm a lot more valuable as far as my time goes. I don't feel like I'm wasting my life away on tour when I never have a chance to win, because nowadays the disc golf pro tours, at least, always make shorter tee pads for the women, so it's more competitive. Whereas when we were playing from the MPO tee pads, you always know that whoever throws farther is just going to be able to mash something, and then they'll have an easy approach. So that's why I feel like all the disc golf pro tours are really exciting and really motivating.
Awesome. DVD, thank you this week, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Again, everyone, Vanessa Van Dyken, best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Double G, Garrett Gurthie is joining us. Garrett, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. We had a little skins match today, so went and had some lunch, came back in time for the conference.
All practiced up, ready to go. So I then have to ask, no one has performed as consistently and as excellently, so to speak, as you have. Second, third, you've just dominated at this course. What's been the secret?
I mean, it's like double G heaven out here. I know it's the disc side of heaven, but no, honestly, this course really suits my game. There's a lot of par fours out here that I can kind of manage the course a little bit easier than others by using my distance to my advantage, and it's all about slamming those putts in this week. So I feel like I can get off the tee pretty good. I just need to buckle down on the putts.
Well, and I have to say, you've obviously had these great performances. What's going to take to get over that hump, though? What is the it factor that you just haven't brought here to the disc side of heaven?
I mean, I bring a lot to the table. Like I said, the putt's been a little struggle, but I feel like if I manage to get my birdies on the par fours and get some of the par threes this week, I'm going to do just fine.
Do you already then answer the question when people say or ask if this is a thrower's course, if big distance is an advantage? It feels like you've kind of just answered all of those questions, haven't you?
Definitely. It's definitely a thrower's course, and that's what I really enjoy about this course. I'm kind of free. I get here, I get enough warm-up time in the net and, on the basket. It's enough to come out here and just, open up and feel free to just, play that open man style disc golf, and you don't get that too often. So
yeah, and there's of course plenty of distance here. Would you like it even more open, or does it have just the right amount of trees, or could it even be a little bit tighter and you'd be okay with it?
To be honest, I really do enjoy this track. I don't think there's much they need to do to improve it. I mean, if I had one suggestion, I would just say, make it a little bit longer, but that's me being a little selfish. But at the same time, they've done a really good job on this property out here, and Brad knows that I really enjoy coming back and can't wait to get my coffee cup from last year.
Now, we've seen your performances throughout this year, and it feels like you've either been really on or you've been just a bit off. We see a handful of top 4, top 5, or top 6 finishes, and then we see you in the deep 20s.
Yeah.
What are the differences on those weekends for you? Is there anything that you can pinpoint?
I would say just the wear and tear that we've been putting on our bodies. This is I want to say my 9th tournament, week to week in a row, and I got all the way up to 13 to go. So trying to, practice the course and be ready for the course, and still being able to take a little bit of time off to let the body relax and heal a little bit. And that's the balance that, whenever I've had my off weeks, I definitely feel the little bit of pain in the lower back, but nothing to be worried about. But it's just stuff that I kind of got to stretch through and just keep playing through it and managing that practice to disc, ratio. It's like practice and taking time off. So.
Yeah, and you've been throwing far and throwing very hard all of your life. I mean, since you were, what do they say, knee-high to a grasshopper. I mean, you've been playing disc golf forever. Have you started talking with, whether it's a Disc Golf Strong or maybe other people, have you started talking about what you're doing to maintain some longevity and what you're going to need to do for your body?
I have done some work with Seth and Disc Golf Strong. I probably need to do more, honestly, but with the Double G Craft Jerky business going on, that's been pretty hectic as well. We've blown our expectations out of the water, along with that. And traveling with a camper trailer isn't easy, loading it and unloading it, 9 times already. That's 18 times on and off that, and then just wear and tear on the road, just a lot of miles. So I need to really get with Seth and get my stretches in and get a little bit stronger for the season.
Well, I certainly see through social media some of those challenges, whether it's a part on the trailer or something that goes awry, or you're delayed, or things just take longer because of your travel. How do you balance that with the idea of, like, I need to get to the course, I need to be ready to go here at Jonesboro? How do you keep that balance?
I'm kind of just a laid-back kind of guy, whereas I know if we just make it there safely, we'll have a chance. And there's plenty of chances throughout the season, so sooner or later we'll get a break. Just hang in there, stay tough, and good things will happen when the time is right.
So last question I'll have is, when coming to Jonesboro here specifically, do you mentally let off just a little bit, knowing, okay, I know this course, I enjoy this course, I play it well? Maybe we can relax. We can get there a day later or a half day later. Did any of that go through your head this week?
Oh yeah, on the way here, just to the press conference, it's just really nice being at Craighead Forest Park, and no GPS needed finally. And that's whenever you're at a good place, whenever you can go to and from the course, no problem. Just from the prior years, just stepping up, knowing every single hole out here is in favor of Double G. So I popped an ace for my dad last year on hole 15. I came close in skins today. I'd really like to do another hole 15 for Dad again. He passed away on my brother's birthday, November 13th, so he'll be with me this tournament.
Certainly. All right, Mo, we'll ask, do you have anything from the control room?
Yeah, PG. This course is called the Disc Side of Heaven. You mentioned off the top that GG's in heaven wherever you're here. What is it about, like, the visual aesthetic of this course? Kind of the winding hills, the big trees. Like, what is it about the way this course looks that kind of suits your eye?
With that being said, Milo MacGyver is one of my favorite properties to play on, and this kind of reminds me of Milo itself, but a country style, like country farm style, and that kind of represents me a little bit, and that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable out here than most. So I really enjoy this track, and great question, but everything really has a route out here. There's no flaws that you can say, this one really screwed me over. There's none of that. So I really like that about this course.
You're going to be playing on a card with McBeth and Wysocki right off the gun. They're putting you with the top 2 players in the world. Does that what does that do for a guy like you who's won at every level of the sport and you're used to playing with those dudes? Does it what does that do for you playing with those two guys?
It gives me time to kind of see where the bar's at, playing with such great competitors. You kind of fit in or you don't. You move with the pack or you get moved behind. So with that being said, you got to kind of move along the track well with the others and try to make your birdies when Ricky's making those 45, 50-footers 4 in a row. At least in the practice round the other day, he just stepped up and nailed 4 in a row. So, like I said, you can't let anything distract you. You got to make your own putts and keep up.
Awesome, GG. Thank you, bud.
All right, everyone, that is Double G, Garrett Gurthie. He loves the disc side of heaven. His performances in the past have proven that. We wish you the best of luck this week.
Thank you. Don't forget to get your Double G craft jerky. Thanks, guys.
Hello, everyone, and joining us now is Madison Walker. Madison, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're here in a beautiful property, and very few people enjoy nature, I think, more than you do. So what do you think of the This Side of Heaven property?
I mean, it's awesome. A lot of people are all excited about the West Coast or going up to the Northeast, but the Midwest has really awesome disc golf courses, and I love playing around here. I love playing in Virginia. I love playing in North Carolina. I love playing here. Really happy to be out here. It's morel season too, so I'm going mushroom hunting later today.
Well, we know where your priorities are. Now, a few moments ago, we were talking to fellow Floridian in Double G, and he talked about how much he enjoys this property. So following that, this is nothing like Florida.
No,
I mean,
no.
It's so vastly different. Maybe kind of expand on that a little bit when you see the hillsides, when you see the trees and everything that it has to offer. What is it about that for you?
I mean, it's definitely not my type of disc golf. I like the woods. I like tight wooded courses. But there's something about the way they've utilized the openness of this area. I mean, they have really awesome big trees. They have, I'm sure you can see in the background, they've got some water problems too, which is nice. And then the elevation is to die for. And that's something that we get excited about in Florida because we don't have any of that. So it's really fun to throw down big hills, throw up big hills. And then they've really managed to use the open course without adding a bunch of artificial OB, which I appreciate. You still have, problem areas that you don't want to go into. The rough is rough. But I appreciate there not being a bunch of ropes everywhere. I think that's what makes this place so awesome.
So we haven't seen you competitive in a month now, at least in terms of PDGA sanctioned play. I believe you found yourself a team event to compete in, but it's been a full month since you've been on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Since Waco, it's been a month?
It's been, yeah. I mean, if I'm doing the math, that was March 14th, and today is April 15th.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
If we're doing the math there, it's been a full month since you've been in, PDGA, Elite Series, competitive play. Are you ready?
Yeah, I feel good. This year, I'm definitely taking it easy. I'm not playing as many events. I'm only playing Pro Tour events. My only goal is really to make it to the Pro Tour Championship, and then I'm playing the majors as well, and I would like to place well at those events. But I'm focusing more this year on other things and on just kind of making sure I'm living a life that I feel good about, and I think playing less events makes me feel better. Playing a million events like I have in the last 5 years that I've been on a professional tour, is a little bit too much of a grind for me, and I find myself not enjoying disc golf as much as I would like to. So I'm excited about playing less events, taking a month in between.
Well, in that last month, we also saw that you were announced with a new position and a new role officially formed with the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that briefly? And how do you juggle that time maybe along with playing?
Yeah, that's something I'm figuring out that's new. Time management is something that I've kind of not been as good at since I got out of college, and I'm not working in the professional field anymore that I was. With disc golf, you are on a time schedule because you're going from event to event really fast, but you don't have to manage your time as much because all your time is dedicated to yourself. So having this job with the Pro Tour now, for those that don't know, I'm the Environmental and Special Initiatives Coordinator, but it's not, thankfully this year, it's like a slow rollout. So even though we have a lot on the list, like I have really big plans for this program, we won't be able to do it all this year. We're still, in a nationwide or a worldwide pandemic. We're still trying to figure out just how to make events run smoothly and safely through that. And so it's nice to have kind of a buffer year, I would call it, for the program, where we're figuring out how much we can incorporate, how much I can do, how well I can manage my time, and hopefully compete at the same time.
Well, and speaking of competing, we've seen some other competitors really step up and challenge your Paige Pierce, your Katrina Allen, who feel like they have largely dominated the division.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Sarah Hokom, one of the top finishers, but we've seen a little bit more parity.
Mm-hmm.
You're friends with them, you compete with them week in and week out. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I always knew that the women in the field had it in them. I mean, of course, everyone's known Paige and Katrina and Sarah to be dominant, but we've had that talent for the last few years, and we've had now ladies that are willing to put the work in too. So I knew it was just a matter of time before we started getting a bunch of women competing for that top spot and winning that top spot. I know this year we've already, in the handful of events that we've already had a bunch of different winners, which is very exciting. But like I said, I knew it was just a matter of time. We've had the talent, and now we have the women that are willing to put in the work and the dedication. We finally have enough money to pay those women to do that, and it's no surprise to see that, in my opinion.
In the first two big events that we've seen you play this year, you finished 11th in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you're looking to improve on that. What would you consider a success for yourself this weekend?
I mean, in reality, coming into this year, after taking last year off and battling an injury, I knew my major battle was not going to be the course or necessarily my mental game. It was just going to be consistency. I haven't necessarily had time to put in as many reps as I normally would, being on tour full time. So, just getting back into the groove and feeling comfortable with up shots, feeling comfortable on the green, that's what I'm going to be battling. And so, it's been I'm not necessarily happy with 11th place, but it hasn't been all bad. It's been a lot of good stuff, and then, I'll shoot a 980 and then follow it up with an 890. So, just riding that roller coaster, hoping for it to smooth out, and, I think the good finishes will come once that starts to smooth out.
Someone might say, well, you had last year off, you didn't travel and compete, but they would say, well, you should have had plenty of time to work on your game.
That's what you'd think.
So, does that kind of give us the answer that you really just kind of stepped away from disc golf entirely? You weren't out necessarily doing field work, you weren't doing reps, you were doing other things to keep yourself safe and keep to yourself.
I moved into an RV with my friend Abby, and we went to Montana. We both kind of had weird situations for feeling safe during the pandemic, so we just moved to the middle of nowhere, and the closest disc golf course was 35 minutes away, and I know that's close, but there's so many rivers in between, so many fish to be caught, so many trails to hike. So I got distracted a lot, but I also was injured, so I was resting that finger injury. The doctors told me a full year was the best time. So if I was playing, I was trying to play real soft and not do a ton of reps. It's a repetitive use injury. So I do have an excuse for not practicing.
Well, no one is thankful for COVID, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but if there was a time for you to be able to, really take off from the competitive golf last year, kind of fit into your personal schedule in that sense. And I'm not certainly blaming you for COVID.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you're doing
I hope
not. But, when all things worked out that way, ultimately. So the final question I'd have, and I think that's on the front of everyone's mind, is We see that you're not with Innova. We see that that's been a long-term sponsor of yours for the last few years. This year, as of right now, you're playing unsponsored. So people would like to know where that stands. And
I mean, it was definitely difficult making the decision to be unsponsored this year. It feels a little bit weird, but I had the job with the Pro Tour knocking on my door in December, which is right after I found out I wasn't going to be with Innova for any longer, which, as sad as it was kind of like when one door closes, a better door does open usually. So that happened, and I considered maybe finding a sponsor while having this job, but another opportunity has presented itself, and I can't give all the details yet because it's not 100%. But I do have a sponsor. It's not a typical disc sponsor. It's a little bit more of like a startup company, and I'll have more details on that soon. But yeah, the Pro Tour job and then this job with this newer company that's starting up filled the gaps enough for me to feel like I could make it work without having a disc sponsor.
Clearly a very busy and dedicated woman. We're going to see if Mo has anything to add to that, of any questions for you, Madison.
Not much. I kind of just want to know, how's the finger situation? Like, I know you were taping like 3 fingers together. Are you still doing that? Like, how's the sidearm feeling?
Yeah, I definitely am still taping my middle finger and ring finger together to make it work. And, I didn't think it would work. I was kind of hopeless during the off season when I was trying to practice that and relearn how to putt. But it's working. I mean, I did really well at Waco in the woods. That's mostly what I was worried about, is like release point and timing. But I did really well. I definitely still figuring some stuff out on the putting green, but it's working fine. I do have to throw a 3-finger sidearm still. I think it's going to be like that essentially for as long as I continue competing, because this finger doesn't seem to be getting better. Maybe it's the way I throw. It's a work in progress, but yeah, it's going to be like that for the foreseeable future. It's working. I've practiced enough that I feel comfortable with it now, and as much as my putting has suffered, it is getting better. So, yeah.
Awesome. You're playing on a pretty cool card with Hailey King and a few others. You're playing on the GK Pro card. I know you've been doing commentary and stuff too, but how excited are you to be playing on a featured card like that in your first competition in about a month?
I was not expecting the feature card gig at this event at all. I mean, 11th place the last 2 weeks, it doesn't feel great, especially compared to the way I was competing at the end of the last time I was. But it's very exciting. I've done well at Jonesboro before. It was in 2019, I believe. So, or 18, 19? It's one of those.
Not 19.
Not 19. But so I'm excited to be on the feature card. I love playing with Hailey King. She's one of my favorite people to play with in the world. And we've actually lamented that we haven't gotten to play together at all this year so far. So I'm excited to play with her, and I believe GK Pro will be filming us, and I will be back in the commentary booth all week with Erica Stinchcomb with Two Hot Geese. So we're excited to bring that to you. We're excited that they're giving us that opportunity. We're excited to announce that we'll have some merch available too, so you guys pay attention. It'll be released soon through working with GK Pro. And we really appreciate them, giving us that opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Madison. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, again, everyone, this is Madison Walker. She's looking to maybe duplicate or improve on her performance from 2018, where she finished second here at Jonesboro. Best of luck to you, Madison.
Thank you so much, and thanks to all my sponsors.
Joining us now is Ricky Wysocki, and Ricky, we're here in Arkansas. Beautiful day. How you doing today?
Good, man. I feel like I'm on Smashbox right now.
We've been told that we've got to keep the questions a little more specific to what you're going to do this weekend here in Jonesboro. Incredible course. We talk about it being a thrower's course. You, of course, have every tool in your bag. How prepared, how good do you feel coming into this specific course?
I feel great. I mean, I think my swing's been good. It's been on point. I've been, playing in the woods. It's a whole different ball game. But beginning this week, I definitely was trying to extend my reach back a little bit and get that little bit of extra distance out here because it helps coming into these par fours. Being a little bit, 25 or 50 feet further, if you can throw that a little bit extra distance, you have maybe a putter in instead of a driver or mid-range. So that makes a difference on some of these sloped greens. And so it's all about crushing this week. There's not too much OB on these par fours, so you can open up.
Well, and clearly you're on one of our great feature cards. You're going to be with Double G, Paul McBeth, Thomas Gilbert. Nobody short on distance in that group. I feel like you always have a game plan. Do you at all get influenced by what anyone else is doing on that card?
No, I mean, I think I enjoy watching the shots just like the fans do sometimes. When Garrett throws, it's like, and even Thomas is up there too. He's a young gun throwing real far. It's fun to watch these guys throw. So some of these holes, I'm going to be watching just like the fans are. But for me, I'm still playing my game. I think that distance is a big factor out here, but at the same time, you got to up shots are super important, just as important as well, because a lot of these greens are tricky, and you got to hit at the right angle, at the right speed, so that way you don't roll. And so that's just as important as throwing a 550 or 600 foot drive out here. So I'm super paying attention to my up shots and my landing zones, and playing my game obviously for the most part.
Well, and last weekend you, of course, were at the Silver Series event over in Arkansas still at the Vintage Open. You finished in 5th. You were making kind of a late run during that final round, and then you stalled out in the last few holes. Do you quickly forget those things and move on, or did that eat at you a little bit?
It was super windy last week, so it was just who could handle the wind. It was more of that was the big battle for the week, and so it was just a lot of different variables that I hadn't got thrown at in the past couple months. It's the windiest round I played all year, and windiest tournament for that matter. I had some good shots, some bad shots, but those it was more of a. I didn't wake up with the same mental capacity that I normally do as a smaller event. Still a silver series, getting points, and you want to rack up points and play well every week. But I think that it's going to be a little bit different intensity this week, being an elite series, and I'm going to have a little bit more fire going in and try to pump myself up a little earlier in the tournament.
Well, and speaking of the elite series overall, you sit in 2nd place. Obviously, that's a great place to be. Do you at any point think about your standings, or do you feel like you're comfortable knowing, hey, at the end of the year, I'm going to be secure moving into the championships?
Yeah, I think obviously I want to make the championships, and that's the number one goal. But within that, I definitely want to finish as high as I can. If I have a chance to to play a late tournament that I can win it, that's awesome. I'm here for accomplishments. I want to accomplish a lot in the sport, and so I'm definitely paying attention to the points. That means a lot with the Silver Series, the Elite Series. The Pro Tour's done a lot, and they offer a lot with the standings, and with the match play coming up, I know they're going to be. Pretty sure they're doing seeding based on the points, if I'm not mistaken, and then the Pro Tour Finals. So there's a lot of stuff that actually lays on the line as far as how you can better yourself and better your chances to win the Pro Tour Finals, maybe the match play, get a better seeding. So there's a lot of different reasons why I do definitely pay attention to that.
Well, some people pay plenty of attention to ratings, and others say they don't matter, but you, again, tied for the top rating in the world, 1055. How does that feel?
It feels great. I mean, it's just I don't know what everyone's stances on ratings are, but for me, it's something where it's definitely something you can gauge. There's obviously sometimes there's random people that play local leagues and get a really high rating and then just sit on it and coast and enjoy looking at their name on the top of the leaderboard at PDJ when the ratings come out. But as far as the top players go, it's something to where it can really gauge your play. And as a player, you can't really cheat the ratings to a certain. You can to a certain extent, but at the same time, you have to earn it and you have to shoot the rounds consistently week in and week out with as many tournaments as we play to get a high rating and stay that high rated. And I feel like that's a huge accomplishment that I've. Getting the 1055, my personal best, and it's something that I can grow on, I can improve on that, and really just try and get as high as I can and try and break my personal best.
Well, everything's been firing for you pretty much this year. I mean, we've seen you so confident. We've seen you dialed in. Of course, the back-to-back wins when you look at the Belton and then opening the National Tour, another Elite Series event. Do you have all of that exact same confidence? As if you just, we'll say, left Texas where you were the champion. Do you have all that exact same confidence this very moment and stepping into tomorrow's round?
I mean, for some reason, Texas, I just have my confidence peaks always when I'm in Texas. But I definitely still feel confident. Maybe not so much as Texas, but I mean, I'm still, I'm always growing, always adapting as a player. So I'm going to these tournaments and learning the courses, adapting my swing to it, adapting my game plan. And so I think that I'm so adaptable to different conditions. I can make mid-round swing critiques. I can, change different things and make it work. And that's what I feel like I can play, courses like this and courses like the National Tour event in Texas States and just succeed and play at a high level no matter what the course throws at me and what the shots offer are asking that week.
Well, and we know that the rest of the field's in trouble. If rain comes out, you put on a coat, we call you Raincoat Ricky, and then we know there's even more trouble for the rest of the field. So I totally agree with how well you're able to adapt to the conditions and the play that's in front of you. We'll check in with Mo and see if he's got anything else for you in terms of this weekend's preparations and things you need to worry about.
Yeah, Ricky, you were on this incredible year where it felt like you were the overwhelming favorite going into vintage. Did you feel like that took a little bit of the wind out of your sails, not winning that event? It just felt almost like Ricky. There's no way Ricky doesn't win this event, and then you went in. I think you took 4th or 5th. What was it like playing vintage?
Yeah, so playing vintage was definitely a unique experience. Like I said, it was probably the windiest tournament overall that I played in a long time, and so. Not to make excuses, but the wind can, it can really make you do weird things. I had a couple spit outs, and so there was just some stuff that went against me, and that's just going to happen in a tournament. You can't expect throughout a whole season to just win every tournament. Obviously, that's what was my goal, but I'm realistic, and I'm a realist. I know what possibilities, what things can happen, and I didn't let it get my confidence down, and I'm still riding high from Texas, and that's the way I'm going to look at it, and just like I said, yeah, it's a whole different set of conditions this week. It doesn't look like it's going to be as windy. It's kind of hard to be as windy as it was at vintage. I mean, I think it was 30 miles an hour pretty much the whole final round. I mean, I was throwing 550-foot drives that were going 250. So, so that was kind of a little disheartening, and that killed the confidence a little bit. But I'm back to normal this week.
Awesome. And last question for you, Ricky. When are we going to see the Wysocki coin? I just saw on Twitter that you just started a Bitcoin account or something like that, like a crypto account. So when are we going to see Wysocki coin out in the market?
Hey, you never know. The NFTs are blowing up. You might see a Wysocki Bomb NFT with an autograph virtual card. I saw Tom Brady was just doing that. It'd be cool to be the first disc golfer to get a NFT within the crypto space. So I've definitely been interested. It's been a hobby of mine exploring the cryptocurrency industry, and it's something that's blowing up. And I think that maybe a great crossover for disc golfers to get involved with crypto like I am. So I'm super excited to share that with the disc golf world.
Dogecoin is up 35% today.
Well, I think with that, we should all expect the Rick coin. That's what it's going to be, the Rick coin.
Yeah. R-I-T, Rick coin.
Or R-I-K, R-I-C, the Rick coin. And with that, Ricky Wysocki, thank you for joining us. Of course, best of luck to you this weekend. We're excited to see what you can do. Your 1055 rating, and all of the skills you bring to the disc side of heaven. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
Joining us now is Paige Pierce. And Paige, we've got to start with the obvious. How does it feel to be an odds-on favorite coming into an event such as this on this property?
You know, it's a weird thing because that's what you guys are telling me. I feel like a favorite every time I go to a tournament, but I think the media writes a story and the fans follow it, and I'm trying to not pay attention to any of that. I actually just hired an assistant who started yesterday, so I will not be on any social media from here on out, unless I really need to be. So, I think that's kind of been a block of mine at times, and definitely more so lately, just caring about what people think, and I need to stop that because I really don't at the end of the day, but there's periods where you can't turn that off, and I'm excited that now I can focus on this being my job and not necessarily responding to comments and stuff like that.
So just to follow that up, though, you feel like that's been distracting, or
absolutely.
What about it? Do you feel like it's been even the positive comments and the accolades, or do you feel like you're just getting pulled in a lot of directions? What about social media and your interactions have specifically been kind of blocking or hindering you?
Yeah, I think both. To answer your question, both the accolades and the whatever the opposite you want to call it is. I think I'm the kind of person, and I think 95% of the players in this tournament they don't want to talk about their round when it's over, whether they shot 1100 rated or whether they shot the worst round of their career. We don't want to talk about disc golf. That's all we do all day long. We want to decompress after the round, go hang out with our friends, eat a good meal, and get some rest. And so, as far as like why, it's just like all the things that you hear that, you know, your brain plays tricks on you, how you interpret what they said, like, how did they mean that, you know? Mm-hmm. Just stuff like that where you don't necessarily need to hear that stuff. You want to hear it from your friends and your supporters and your loved ones. But I think that there's a lot of ways that your brain can trick you. And right now I want to focus on the golf and not so much of the business side of it.
Well, and that would be my next point is you've really diversified. You've gotten yourself into a lot of things. Of course, your sponsor in Discraft has really helped you along those ways. We've seen your website. We've seen your other social media continue to blossom and develop. Mm-hmm. And you've been really busy. And then you've also been focused on personal life with finding potentially a place to live. Some of those things you're going to be able to just basically pass off. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm developing a team. I'm hiring 3 people, so I have like a content creator, editor. So I still am going to engage with the fans and show the fans what life is like off the course. But I'm not going to be editing any of that anymore. Up until this point, I've been a one-woman show. Anything that you've ever seen from Paige Pierce, I literally do. So a lot of that, it wears you out, especially when you're trying to practice for Pro Tours and get ready for some majors coming up. And unfortunately, European Open's canceled, speaking of majors. But it's a lot to put on one person's plate. And so I'm excited to assemble a team and get back to why I came out here in the first place is to play good golf.
Well, and that clearly, you've struggled with that a little bit. That's not a secret to you.
Yeah.
That you've struggled with playing good golf. To look at your results this year at all the biggest events, to see you have of course, you opened with the first place at the opening Pro Tour, mm-hmm. but then a 5th, 11th, and a 5th. You're clearly looking to remedy this or remedy all of those performances. We don't see that from you. This weekend, is this the start? Is this a fresh start? Is this a restart for you? Because
I think every weekend's a restart. So hopefully this is where it turns around for me. It's funny that it has to be called turning it around when I've had 3 bad tournaments, you know, but that is what comes with being Paige Pierce. People expect so much of me, and even my grandpa, he's calling me, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And it's, you know, of course there's things that have come into the equation, but at the end of the day, I'm not focused on those, so I don't want to hear about what other people are focusing on as far as me, because I should be the one that cares, not other people. So, yeah, I think that every weekend is an opportunity to restart. And honestly, the last 3 weeks I have not been focused at all whatsoever on disc golf. Let me rephrase that. I haven't been focused on the present tournament. I'm thinking so far ahead to Worlds, to U.S. Women's, and I'm having a hard time, or I had been having a hard time focusing on the exact shot at hand, and that translated into my scores, as you can see. So this weekend, my number one goal is to be present in this tournament and forget about what's next week, forget about what's a couple months away, focus on this tournament, and then otherwise, why even be here? Why even sign up for this tournament if I'm not focused on it? So that's going to be my goal moving forward over the next few months.
So being present is how you're going to handle it, starting with tee off tomorrow morning. I get that. But what did you do in the last 4 or 5 days specifically while you were here or not? Like, what did you do to specifically prep for this tournament?
For this tournament? It's a relatively easy track for me. There's no OB. We all know that's my,
crutch.
Yeah, my crutch. So yeah, I can just throw bombs and fight the wind, and maybe at 3:30 we won't even have much wind. So I've been kind of practicing. I practiced today at 8:30. Another day I played at 9, and then I played two rounds later in the afternoon to kind of see, does it change? How does the wind affect my shots on certain holes? And then just, figuring out which disc I want to throw in headwind, which disc I want to throw if there's no wind, and developing a game plan for my disc choices. And then I played some scoring rounds as well for cash to kind of simulate a competitive round where, that putt exactly right there matters, and you don't get to just putt 5 times if you miss.
Well, we were here just 6 months ago. Of course, you left a champion. And is there anything that was different? Do you feel like anything from 6 months ago to today, do you feel like there's been any change in your game plan? Anything that you've developed skill-wise or mentally or anything?
On hole 5, I was throwing a buzz every round last year, and I think I'm going to go with a driver this year. I actually got the birdie at least 2 of the rounds. But this week, the driver was flying better for me, so I think I'm going to end up going with that. And other than that, I can't think of any different changes in discs choices or game plan. It's just kind of comes down to the moment. What's the wind doing? Which stability of Zeus am I going to grab? Or, that's pretty much it.
And hopefully you play from the right Zeus, if we
think
about last year.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
So, all right, let's see if Mo has anything else for you.
Well, Paige, you made an Instagram post a little while ago talking about how the entire FPO field has kind of just been the story of the season so far, and I completely agree with that. It's been so cool watching, the parity in FPO. What's that like for you watching the all these players coming up when it's been you at the top for so long now, you and Katrina for the most part?
Yeah, totally. I think my post said it all. If you guys haven't seen it, at P Pierce 29190. That is all of my words. So I guess to put it short, if you haven't read it, I just was kind of talking about that. For the past few weeks, we have seen so much growth in the FPO field, and we've been seeing it over the course of the past few years. But really, when you look at the stats in a short amount of time, it's really, really incredible to see that. I'm going to keep it short and just go straight to Texas States. Going into the final round of Texas States, it could have been 1 out of 9 people's chance to win that tournament. And that is pretty unheard of in the FPO field. But that is happening more and more often. So I kind of challenged the media crews, who else besides GK Pro is going to come out here and film the women's cards? We need more media crews. If you're at home and you have a camera, get out here to the Pro Tour. We have an FPO2 card that needs filming, because if Rebecca Cox would have won that tournament from the Chase card and we wouldn't have had any coverage of it, that would have been a travesty. So I think that my point is, anybody can win now, and when we have 3 cards of men being covered, we need more than 1 of women being covered, especially when we have the raise in women's golf. And if you media crew are asking about it, tell your boss. We need another media crew out here.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, yeah.
Sorry, I got a little passionate about that, but I really feel it strongly.
No, dude. Yeah, because like I'm in Milwaukee, and I'm like, send 2 cameras to Rebecca as soon as you can.
Yeah.
She birdied like the first 5 holes or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do we do here? Yeah, and if there was no way to watch it except via live, I completely agree with you. That would have been, that wouldn't have been great. So, yeah, we need to get on that. So I agree with you, Paige. But yeah, thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, Paige Pierce, everyone, you're defending champion here. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck, Paige.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now is Sarah Hokom, our 2012 world champion. And Sarah, coming off a win from last weekend on the Silver Series, how does it feel?
Feels great to get a win against so many great competitors, for sure. So I'm excited, confident.
That's certainly been a conversation point throughout, is just how competitive the FPO field has really been this year. We've seen a number of women step up, play exceptional. We've seen just a lot of shifting, and the chance that, a few weeks ago in Texas, there were so many women that could take that down, for instance, at the opening of the national tour. So you're someone who's really advocated for the growth and development of the women's game and women's exposure. Are we seeing it? Are we getting there for you?
We are getting there, and not for me, but maybe for the future. I mean, definitely I benefit, but certainly for the future of the sport and the women who play it.
So as we come in here to Jonesboro, you have stated throughout the years that distance courses aren't necessarily your favorite. You prefer tight, wooded, accurate lines. How does this course set up for you in your game, though?
I think it's half and half. I think there's certainly some holes that I struggle to get to because of my limited distance, and it's requiring big distance shots. But there's also a lot of placement shots. So I think I can capitalize on those and do my best on the distance. And, there's bonus birdies out there for me on all but maybe 2 of the holes. So, yeah, I could do well. We'll see. I really don't know. I have no expectations going in.
Well, I guess I'd challenge that. Why would you say you have no expectations? You're clearly one of the best women we've ever seen play disc golf, and you perform well week in and week out. When you say no expectations, what do you mean by that?
I mean, as long as I do my best out there, that's all I expect to do. I mean, I guess that is an expectation in itself, but I have no expectations on my finish or how I'll play. I just want to go shot for shot. I think my success has come partly from that.
Now, last weekend, we saw in rounds 1 and 3 that the wind was of epic proportions out there, and you've stated as well that wind doesn't necessarily favor your putting style. Is there anything that you can do to change that up, or is it just a fingers crossed that it's not a windy day? Like, what are some of the types of things you can do to combat that?
Well, I've had a strategy for headwind putts, which is typically the headwind putts are the ones that typically drop my putt incredibly. So I'm aiming at the top of the basket and I'll hit the lock. So yeah, so I have made in the past, I've made nose angle adjustments and a backswing adjustment in order to kind of keep that nose angle a little bit more flat and decrease the extreme of the arc of my putt. However, I found in that first round of vintage that it was not working. And I've long resisted a spin putt due to some many years ago issues with a spin putt that cost me a lot. But I've found it a little bit more, and if I'm going to miss putts anyway, I might as well work on that spin putt. So I've been working on that, and I had resolved in that third round of vintage to spin putt any headwind putts, and I did spin putt a couple of them, although they were relatively short, so it may not have been obvious. However, I have committed to spin putting into headwinds. I might as well. My adjustments I was making with my push putt were not working, so it's time to get over it and put it in the basket.
Well, and speaking of commitments and adjustments, we also saw you parking a backhand shot. I know that's something that you obviously are always working on and improving on. Is there a comfort level? Has that increased anytime recently? Is there something you're doing specifically to feel a little bit more dialed and focused with those?
Yeah, I think it's been a slow progression of confidence over the last year since I worked on it a lot during the COVID shutdown. It was a time I was able to just focus on that skill rather than trying to keep maintenance on all the rest of my skills. Yeah, I think over the past year, and then I'm parking a couple shots with my backhand, getting some birdies, and taking that risk, just being comfortable, being uncomfortable on the tee when throwing those shots. Just the more I do it, the better I'm going to get at it. Out here, I'm throwing I'm throwing at least 3 backhands off the tee, and then several approach shots backhand, including possibly the approach on 18. So it could be coming down to the wire, and we'll see if I can do it.
Ready to watch you perform under pressure in that way. Last weekend, you finished on Saturday. You were crowned champion on a Saturday, and then we had a relatively short journey to come here as we remain in Arkansas. So it's not like you had a vacation, but there was a little reprieve between a Saturday victory and then here starting on a Friday. Was there anything different about this week? Did you relax anymore? Did you prep anymore? Was there anything different about this week?
Yeah, there was. I would normally get a few more rounds in a practice than I did because I had that extra rest day. But I've been dealing with some lower back, sciatic, some butt-itis, if you will. And so I've been doing some physical therapy and not playing as much as I usually do in order to prep, just for the longevity of the season, make sure my body's healthy. So, yeah, that's been a little bit different for me, but that's part of the job.
I'm unfamiliar with butt-itis and the prognosis for that, but if you're saying you're suffering from it, I did notice, though, you somewhat, I don't want to go extreme and say hobbling, but you certainly look like you were in pain during that final round. Are you 100%? Are you 90%?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty close to 100%. It's still something I'm keeping an eye on and being diligent about rehab. But it feels much better. The local physical therapist got me in several times this week, and I think we've had a lot of improvement. I think I was maybe 60% when I got here, and now I would say I'm like 95%.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to check in with Mo and see if he's got anything additional to ask.
Yeah, Sarah. So, you say that you're not, you don't have you say that you don't have distance that affects you on courses like this, but the statistics would say otherwise. In 2017, you actually led the entire field in strokes gained tee to green. Thank you to UDisc for those statistics. Does it feel like, I don't know, do you feel like you can win on a course like this, given that you just played a course at Vintage last week that's not too crazy dissimilar?
Yeah, I would say that yes, despite my lack of distance, I do feel like I can win on a course like this. Absolutely. Now, it takes accuracy, and it takes great approach shots and good putting. So, even though I will be throwing distance shots, I still need to be accurate with them. And I'm not going to necessarily, lay up and just rely completely on my approach game, because I won't be getting birdies doing that. But I think maybe some of the things that have made me lead those categories is certainly the accuracy off the tee. I don't make a lot of mistakes in my stroke.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, best of luck to you this weekend, and we'll see if you can make it an Arkansas sweep.
All right. Well, as Mo said, yeah, we wish you the best of luck. Hope to see you perform well this weekend, and we'll see if you can go back-to-back here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Best of luck to you, Sarah.
Thank you.